back. All right. So we will go ahead and I'll call the Board of Adjustments and Appeals to order. Ms. Fenton, if you could take the roll, please.
Sure. Ms. Schmitz?
I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Rieger?
Present.
Ms. Hoffman is absent. Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Friesen?
Present.
Ms. Spencer?
Here.
And Chair Finn.
Present.
A quorum is present.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am. So there are 7 members present. Therefore, 5 affirmative votes are required to grant a variance or appeal. The board is authorized to grant or deny variance by Part 3, Section 60 of the Englewood City Charter. Anyone aggrieved by a decision rendered by this board may appeal that decision to a court of record. However, such appeal must be made within 30 days of the board's decision. Any approved variance is effective at the end of the appeal period. Building permits for construction associated with approved variance will not be issued until the appeal period is ended. Building permits must be obtained and construction begin within 180 days of the variance's effective date. This is a public hearing continued, but we'll follow the same general overview. Staff will introduce the case. They'll give us a brief overview. The applicant will present their request, and if there's any updates on her part, proponents and opponents will be given an opportunity to speak. And if needed, staff will again address the board. So this is public hearing case BAR 2021-011 for Brenda Hubka. 3639 South Fox Street is now open. The applicant is requesting a variance for an accessory dwelling unit to be located outside of the rear 35% lot placement required for an accessory dwelling structure in the MU R3B zone district. The structure will be located within the rear 42% of the property. This is a variance to section 16-5-4.c.7.I5 of the Englewood Municipal Code. Staff, could you take the oath and update us for the case?
Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that you will tell the truth in this proceeding before the Board of Adjustment and Appeals?
I do.
Please state your name and position.
Erik Sampson, Planner 2.
Mr. Sampson, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yep, if you could just lead us through, that'd be awesome.
Sure. All right. So at the last public hearing on October 13th, the Board of Adjustment members asked staff to determine if the conversion of the garage into a second dwelling unit would be allowed in the MUR 3B zone district per code. Members of the board also inquired if the conversion of the garage was permitted, would it alleviate the need for a variance since the conversion would no longer be considered an accessory dwelling unit, but a multi-unit dwelling. So staff went to the code book and were pretty easily able to determine that while the MUR 3B zone district does allow for multi-unit dwelling, these dwellings must be located in the same structure as per the definition of multi-unit dwelling established in the definition sections of the code, section 16-11-1.d.3.b.3 of the code. So therefore, in this situation, Ms. Hubka would not be able to convert the garage into a second dwelling unit as it's not being attached to the primary residence. It would need to be an accessory dwelling unit in order to comply with zoning code. Therefore, the approved variance is still required due to the garage being situated partially outside of the rear 35% setback lot requirement. And Ms. Hubka has been made aware of this determination and understands that a variance approval is still required to move forward with the renovation.
Board, any questions for staff at this point? All right.
Chair Finn, this is Nancy. If I could just state for the record that we did receive the certification of posting from
Yes,
the
thank you.
applicant, Ms. Hupka, and that is in our files.
Yes,
So-
thank you. Yep, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Nancy.
Mhm.
All right. Any questions? We had no questions for staff. Okay, so Ms. Hupka, if you could please come forward, testify in the case, state your name and address, and the secretary will administer the oath.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that you will tell the truth in this proceeding before the Board of Adjustment and Appeals?
I do.
Please state your name and
Um,
address.
Brenda Hupka, 3639 South Fox Street, Englewood, Colorado, 80110.
Hi, Ms. Hupka, welcome back.
Thank you for meeting again. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and I need to really thank the board for agreeing to meet as well. It was they came through with that as well. Do you have anything it was pretty recent. I think we all remember the conversation. Do you have anything you'd like to add at this point?
Well, yeah, I can add that we've done a little excavating work around the structure to see how far down our foundation goes. And we're a good 3 feet already down. So this structure was built, I believe, with a permit in the 90s, because it is a pretty sound structure, and to move it would be quite burdensome to move it the 8 feet that is necessary to be within that 32%. As well, we already have a line up to the sewer is already connected to this garage structure that I have right now. And in the back area there, the way it is right now, we've got a great parking spot and a garden area that I would hate to have to tear out when we do. So I just want to build an ADU with its own kitchen and bathroom. And that's all I'm seeking to do.
Perfect. Board, any questions for Ms. Hupka at this point? All right, I don't see any questions from the board. Thank you, Ms. Hupka, again for joining us this evening. So, Ms. Fenton, is there any people present to speak in favor or opposition of this that are on the line?
I see a Rudy Goncall. I'm sorry, I'm just slaughtering your last name. Did you wish to speak? Not hearing anything.
Rudy is the contractor. So,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay,
and I don't see anybody in downstairs in person, so I think we're good.
all right. Staff, any additional comments, or does the board have any additional comments for staff at this point? All right, I don't see anyone. So I will now close the public hearing. I need a motion and a second for board discussion. Anyone?
I would like to. Go ahead, Andy.
I move to approve a variance in case VIR 2021-011 for the property at 3639 South Fox Street to allow an accessory dwelling unit within the rear 42% of the property. This is a variance to section 16-5-4.6.7 I5.
All right, is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. So we have a motion and a second discussion. Welcome back, board. What do we think now with where we are at this point?
One thing I think is I really wish that the city council had addressed this issue of existing structures and lot coverage when they did the ADU rules.
I agree.
I think, well, and that leads me to the next thought, which is, like all of our cases, most of them, it comes down to uniqueness.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of properties in the city with similar issues.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm happy
Go
to
ahead.
be, talked into a uniqueness argument, but I'm not seeing it yet.
But to me, the the uniqueness is that it already exists there. And it's so close to being a true back 35%. And one of the factors that comes to my mind is the fact that it's built to do this. In other words, if it didn't have the foundation, and they had to change it for the building code anyway, I wouldn't be voting or even thinking about voting for it. But it's properly built, so I mean, the hardship is it's already there. It would have to be a perfectly fine building being taken down.
Yeah, and the thing, and I didn't remember this from the first time, but that they actually have a sewer line back there. I think that also makes it a little bit unique in the simple fact that it's a garage with a sewer line, so it was perhaps built with this in mind at some point, or perhaps sneaking it if ADUs weren't allowed. But that, I think, is another thing that makes this a little unique. I do agree that I think the city council and they need to look at this and figure out this a little bit more in depth, because I know that we have a number of garages in the back. And I think there needs to be some flex, or else we're going to have a lot of people tearing stuff down, perhaps just to try to do an ADU, which is not needed.
I'll echo that frustration that we're harder on ADUs than garages in the code. So the other thing I'll add is that the fact that there's parking that can be accessed from the alley, that there is still that space and behind that helps, at least maybe not so much with the unique first criterion, but with the second one, just that it is trying to provide that extra parking space, which is required for an ADU. There are some things that it is very consistent with I think the intent of largely what the ADU allowance is for. I think if you moved the garage back, you'd start to lose some of that space, I guess is the point.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, I would agree with that. I think that it's so much easier to look at this and say, hey, if the garage isn't there, we could design the ADU this way. But the fact of the matter is we're presented with a property that has a suitable structure on it. And we're looking at virtually 8 feet, little over 8 feet that it's over. It's in the rear of the house. So I'm not sure how much it would look from the street, how much that makes a difference. But I think it is unique in the fact that, as Mr. Taylor pointed out, there is parking back there. I think it's unique that it has the foundation, as Mr. Friesen stated. And I think it's unique that it has the sewer line already there.
Okay. Okay, to sum up that a little bit then, I mean, thinking about future cases, we could distinguish this property from every other property that has a garage in the back, because this garage has a foundation suitable for ADU and the parking and the sewer. All right, I'm hearing you.
I mean, generally, a garage would not be built that way.
That is correct, actually, because I just built a garage and their foundation requirements doesn't even come close to what would be for a residential housing unit.
I'm a little depressed we can't all take a field trip to see Mr. Thompson's garage.
Oh.
That we could have a foundation study. Yeah, I mean, again, that to me, that is what makes this a little unique. I think it is something that needs to be addressed by the city. And it's something I think staff should take back and start looking at, because I think there should be certain, if we're going to go down the road, which we already have, of ADUs, I think there needs to be a little bit more flexibility on how to address some of these structures that are already there, especially in neighborhoods that are as old as some of the ones we have in Englewood. Any other discussions, points?
I'll just add that we've had cases before where it's not perfectly unique, like it's not the only one, but it is. I'm thinking of like alley loaded, or sort of the houses that are backed up to the alley instead of towards the front. We've had to. Those are pre-existing structures that we've wrestled with in similar ways, I think.
Yeah, and we have leaned on pre-existing conditions being the structures, either, like you've said, built too much forward, or even sticking with a sight line in the past to have the structure line up.
Yeah.
So while, yeah, this is not perfect, I think I can make this mental jump even for someone of my limited intelligence. But it's, everyone needs to kind of come up with it on their own if we haven't. Any other discussion on this? Do we think that, do we have any other issues with the other criteria? To me, they're pretty straightforward. I don't think it's self-imposed, because again, it's an existing structure.
I'd be ready to vote on it.
All right, so I guess, got to move all my screens around. All right, I guess let's vote. Ms. Fenton, if you could take the vote.
Mr. Taylor, how do you vote?
I voted yes. The first criterion, that there's unique physical conditions that exist related to the existing structure of the garage. That the second criterion is also met, that the variance is consistent with the intent of the zone district, which already allows for more than 2 units in this zone district, but also that it meets all the other requirements for an ADU, including providing off-street parking. The third criterion is also met, that the variance will not permanently impair the use or development of adjacent conforming properties or alter the essential character of the neighborhood. This is an existing structure. It is simply changing the use inside that structure. And that the fourth criterion is met, that this is not self-imposed difficulty or hardship. This is a pre-existing garage that predates the adoption of this portion of the code relating to ADUs.
Thank you. Ms. Schmitz?
I vote yes for the reasons stated.
Mr. Rieger?
I vote yes for the reasons stated.
Mr. Thompson?
I vote yes for the reasons stated.
Mr. Friesen?
Mr. Taylor did a good job, and I vote yes for reasons stated.
Ms. Spencer?
I vote yes for the reasons stated.
And Chair Finn?
I also vote yes for the reasons stated.
Motion passes 7-0, excuse me.
Perfect. Thank staff and Ms. Hupka for joining us again. So we're on to staff's choice. Staff, and also I'd like to ask Brooke Bell how much we're paying him, because earlier in the living room he was sitting and looked rather expansive and very fancy.
Well, it's kind of in the country club area of Denver.
Let's see.
It's
Very
not a very
nice.
big house. It's just got a big kind of living room with kind of a mezzanine. So yeah, I'm here. But thank you for asking.
Do we, no cases in November that we know of?
That is correct.
All right. Attorney's choice.
Hi there. So I'm Victoria McDermott. I'm the new assistant city attorney, and I look forward to working with all of you. I don't have anything specific to bring to the board today, but just my greetings and hello.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us. I can't wait to discuss things with you when we get a really good fence. You know, that used to be all we used to have was fences, and now we're getting all this ADU stuff.
So, Tom, I was going to mention, in response to the frustration that was expressed this evening, Mr. Taylor is actually on the UDC steering committee, so he can bring that forward.
I'll take those notes forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
So, so that's a great plus for this board. And you can always follow the project. It's called Code Next, and it's on the city's website. You can sign up for updates. So that's going to probably be about an 18-month process. Brooke, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, hopefully it won't be a full 18 months from now, but no, I don't have anything really to add. The website is up, the meetings you can watch. So look at the city's website and kind of follow it. We're trying to address any number of topics.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited that you guys have Mr. Taylor. That's an excellent choice. And I'm glad that he is helping you guys out. And then hopefully we'll have less stuff to do.
I missed what it was called, this committee, or what's the name of it?
The project itself is called Code Next. And the steering committee is the UDC steering committee, and they meet on the night of the Planning Commission regular meetings.
It's made up of the Planning Commission and several additional people appointed by City Council.
Fantastic. All right. Board, do we have anything?
It's
Nothing.
thundering outside.
Oh, nice. We always need rain. All right. If we have nothing else, at some point we'll all get together and toast to us getting back together. But until then, in the next meeting, we stand adjourned. Thank you guys so much for making this happen. Good job. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Thanks, Tom.